Paddle is not a real sport. It's a combination of three others.
I would like to introduce you to one of the individuals who has inspired a generation of South African comics. A man who wields humor like a weapon against the mundane. A man who will find something funny in every single moment in life that feels boring. A person who can go nowhere slowly, but also fastly, which is a word I made up just for him. When he looks at you, you will be mesmerized because of his great looks, his sensational wit, and his humility. I present to you the one and only Kurt Schoonraad. Hello?
It's exceptionally difficult. Thank you. To come onto an intro like that and be horrible at the game you're setting me up for.
No. The story goes like this. I was on the N1 coming back from an event, and there was a huge bakkie next to me, and the guy still greeted me in the bakkie. Where, Wastie? And I was greeting them back at school, and they drove a little bit ahead of me, and they had this trailer on the back of the bakkie, and whose beautiful face is littered all over this trailer with these huge boards for these telephone or light posts.
Yes.
It is your face, funny side up.
There's a word for that. Serendipitous, my friend.
I felt the dipitous when I saw you. I was like, oh my word, we have to call. So I told Beatrice, like, let's do Kurt. Let's get in. On a Friday, we do a little unpop, which is a little chance for us to reveal some of the unpopular opinions we've gathered over the week.
Hou op with your fancy food names.
Oh, wait, sorry,
Okay,
this is personal.
So last night I was discussing with Ash, like, what I can have for supper.
Yeah.
And he said, make gratin or potato gratin, whatever you pronounce it.
Mouton.
So I Googled this thing. This bloody potato bake.
It's different.
Bechamel sauce. This wit sauce.
You can buy it in the sachet.
Exactly. In a paar man baie dankie.
Since we are on the French thing and the over-pronunciation of words to make it sound more French, do you know that pinotage was invented in South Africa?
Yes.
Where I come from, it's called pinotage. Pinotage is such a good wine.
I love. Ooh, it sounds like
No
Shakespeare
wonder
from
I
the
like
Cape
them.
Flats.
Exactly.
Right? Eh? Touché or not touché? That is the question, darling.
Paddle is not a real sport. It's a combination of three others. I'm going to get lank hate
You are
now.
going to get.
I'm going to get
You are
lank
not
hate
going to
now.
be invited back to the country
No,
club.
bro, exactly. I'm not going to get that invitation. I'm going to have to wear that 3-button shirt with a collar on every single time I come back. And it's a combination of three other sports, and now it's the most popular thing in the world. It's tennis, squash, and badminton. You put that together, now you've got paddle, and everyone's very bourgeois about it as well. I'm not paying $300 to clap a ball over a court for half an hour. Sorry.
But also,
So
that
true.
racket, doesn't it remind you of, when you were in primary school and you had to, doesn't it remind
Swing
you of that?
ball.
Swing
Swing
ball,
ball.
yes.
It's a swing ball
It's a
racket for $3,000. Sorry.
You know what?
You're not invited.
Last night I was at an event, and about 4 people invited me to paddle. I have a swing ball bat
Take it.
in my garage. I'm going to bring that stuff to it. I want to see what happens.
I went to Holland to backpack in the early 2000s, and I spent a lot of time in small towns.
Yes.
Sleeping on train stations and stuff. When
Nowhere to go.
nowhere to go. Exactly when we could still do that pre 9/11.
Yes.
We can't do that anymore. It's,
Yeah.
The security measures are different now.
Yeah, true.
But
that.
I had the best time of my life. I was gone for about 3 months. I came back a different human being. In fact, it was the only reason I tried stand-up when I came back. Was the travel.
What?
But travel made me, dude. It did. I literally... Let's think about it this way. I grew up in Mitchell's Plain. I went to school in Mitchell's Plain. I played soccer in Mitchell's Plain. I went to the doctor in Mitchell's Plain. I came back to a house in Mitchell's Plain, and I slept in Mitchell's Plain. So when I left, my first trip on a plane wasn't to Johannesburg.
Yeah.
It was to Heathrow, where I had a URail pass, and I just traveled. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't all glamorous. I chunked snot and trana a couple of times in the middle of the night on some park bench somewhere, like, my mommy.
But I get you. But do you find that the comedy came out of comparison?
Man, the comedy was always there. The comedy
Okay.
was that they pre that. But
Okay.
I really never thought that I would be funny to anyone else but my family and my friends. And it was through a competition that we ended up spending a lot of time on together.
Yes.
The New Faces competition at a comedy festival, a
Yes.
certain comedy festival, at the same venue I'm playing right now, by the way.
Oh
Bro,
my word!
there are
that's
so
your
many full circles here. The stage I'm performing on Monday,
Yes.
from Monday, sorry, is the very same stage I did my first one-man show in called Punchlines 22 years ago, bro. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
And look at you, 2 decades ago, and you are still getting better.
Bro.
Every single time I watch you. No, I'm not even doing this I'm not trying to blow anybody's trumpet. Just that I think with age, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I just think that there's this insight that makes things funnier.
Like a good Panotte, Jay.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
There's a maturity that comes. If I'm allowed to say that, there's a maturity that comes
Yeah.
along with not only your sense of confidence, but your ability to see things from a different perspective. You know,
Yeah.
stand up is always going to be a little left field, and I think my environment had a huge part to play in it. But being able to see things from the left field, speak about it, and deliver opinion that is not popular sometimes. And an alternative.
Yes.
And you see it with a comedic sense is what stand-up in its essence is all about.
The Flash Drive with Carl Wastie. KFM 94.5.